Thank you for joining. We're joined by Dorian from Groover today. Hey, Dorian.
Hey, Corey. How are you doing?
Good, good. Um, we're going to be talking with Dorian today about Groover and how to utilize it to get more press, as well as just some general tips, I suppose, as well, right, Dorian? We'll cover some like case studies and examples of folks that have gotten press from using Groover.
Exactly. I'm gonna try to be as specific as possible when you ask me questions and everything. And I can also probably show you a bit how to use the platform, and it's probably gonna be useful.
Great. We always like examples here at Future FM.
But
I think it would be great if you could just sort of give a little bit of background about Groover and the platform and, just the sort of like the overall, I guess, spiel of it.
yeah, of course. So we started Groover 4 years ago. It was in the beginning of 2018. When we started with my co-founders, the first thing we did was we definitely wanted to help artists. We had a more global and broader project, which was too big and too problematic as well. But we realized that when we were talking with artists and everybody, most of them were telling us that they found ways to find people to make a music video with them, to help them with their cover art, to help them with production. They could also do it everything by themselves. But the biggest issue they had was once they release it, because they can also distribute it very easily. How do they get more people to listen to it, and how do they reach out to important people who can also act as flagships for their music and also validate the quality of their project. And it was monologues of 20, 30 minutes about this topic, like how do I get someone more than my mom and my dog to listen to my music? So it was always like this. And so we decided to focus on that. And we realized that the biggest issue was that there's so many new tracks released every day on Spotify and on platforms that the issue was definitely that there was kind of a saturation. So when artists were contacting or sending emails to blogs, to radios, to record labels, those didn't have time to open their email inbox, read their emails, and even listen to the link. So we focused on that. How can we guarantee that the link, the music will be listened, that the link will be clicked, and that at least artists will have a chance to get into the ears of those music curators, bloggers, radios, and get a chance to be featured. So that's what we focused on. And Groover was born from that. At first, it was a Google form and a PayPal button in a WordPress website, very shitty. But then it evolved, and now it's a pretty nice platform with a lot of things to improve. But we've had more than 100,000 artists using it. And the way it works is that artists get on the platform, they add information about their track. It can be a YouTube or SoundCloud link, also a Spotify link, a little pitch about their track, and they select who they want to get in touch with in a list with more than 1,500 music creators and professionals right now. They can use filters. They can also really see the profiles and details and choose who they want to get in touch with. And artists pay micro payments, so it's €2 by contact, but we guarantee you that within a week, you'll get listened to and you'll get at least a piece of feedback about your music, and probably more. It can be shares, it can be opportunities, but it's really up to the creator to choose. So they're totally free to choose to share it or not. It's not pay for play, it's pay for consideration from them. And the opportunity that can derive comes really because the creator wants to showcase it. And the idea with that is to really guarantee that they're gonna listen, that you're gonna get a fair chance at being shared, and that you're gonna be able to break this barrier of the first listen and get some opportunities. That's how it works mainly. And we've over past, I think 2 months ago, the 1 million pieces of feedback given to artists, which is a really good milestone, of course. And out of those, we have around 200K shares and opportunities given to artists. There were more than 600 signatures with record labels from connections on the platform that we knew about. And it's only the ones we know about. So lots of opportunities for artists by using Groover. Yes. And just a little element about the fact that we started out in France, but the platform is already very international. We have more than 70% of our activity, which is out of France. And the US is the biggest country just after that, with 25% of the activity. With the UK is really strong with 10%. And then we have Germany, Canada, also Belgium, Brazil, who are all around 5%.
Wow, guys are global, as Pitbull would say, mission worldwide. Um, I think one thing to point out too is that there's not just sort of press opportunities, right? Like there's other areas. Could you sort of expand on, I suppose, what those areas are? Like if an artist was to come to the platform, what are the opportunities that they would have?
Yeah, of course, and completely right. We started out by trying to help artists get in touch with blogs in particular. And when we got in touch with some record labels about using it that way, they were also asking us, why can't we be on the other side and also receiving some demos and receiving some tracks? So very easily we added some categories, and mainly the three main big categories are first, the ones who can give you visibility. So it's mainly when you have a new release and you want to focus on blogs, radio stations, playlists, also YouTube channels, journalists. These are like the five subcategories within that category. So it's really when you want to get promotion and visibility. Then the second big category are people who can end up helping you build your team. So it can be record labels, it can be managers, bookers, publishers, people who can give you advice on your track, but also who will be considering whether they want to work with you or not. And the third category are more mentors and sound engineers, people who can really give you deeper advice on your production, the quality of it, the quality of your project, and how you can make it evolve. So the idea is really on that for you to be able to get more deeper feedback. So these are like the three main categories, and it also related to the three main outputs you can get. The first one being visibility, the second one being building a team and building your entourage, and the third one is getting detailed feedback about your music.
Wow, that's a great opportunity. And there's one thing that I really enjoyed from all of our wonderful discussions about Groover. I think the one thing to let people know too is that when you submit and reiterate this point throughout this call is that people will be able to get feedback. And it's guaranteed when you submit it for consideration for any of these.
Yes, so the idea is really that you submit your track to the selection of creators you choose. So you definitely choosing who you want to get in touch with, and it's totally transparent. And then we guarantee you that within a week, you're gonna get feedback from those. Or if you don't, because they haven't had time to listen to it, you will get credits back and you can get in touch with some other new targets. And the current answer rate is around 90%. I'm not mistaken. So if you get in touch with like, let's say 37 and 38 answers, maybe 36, if it's like not very successful, but you're gonna get credits back for 4 of them, and you're gonna be able to do 4 more submissions. So we really guarantee that it's gonna be listened.
We could not hear you coughing, Johnny Faust, but
I can comment as well. Yeah, we don't hear you. I feel for you.
we're a very interactive bunch. I think now might be a good time.
Yeah, no worries. If you have some questions or anything, then don't hesitate. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're
Yeah,
gonna,
if you have some precision like about what's the point on your question, don't hesitate to ask. Yeah.
yeah, we are open to questions.
Awesome.
I think it might be a good time, Dorian, to jump into the platform if you want to just share your screen if possible, like walk through what Groover looks like.
Yeah, of course. We'll do that if I can. Do you see the screen? Yeah, you probably see it. So on this account, I'm connected on the account of an artist I've been following a lot for quite some time. I've been unofficially managing him, but it's more like helping him anyway. He's a psychedelic rock artist from France and Israel as well. Very interesting. But here we connected on Magon's account. The first thing I want to show you is probably the profile. So on his profile, you can add some information about your music and also your tracks. One of the important things is here, it's about the music genres you want to showcase. One important thing when you're using Groover is not to add too many genres around your project. Otherwise, the recommendations we're gonna do about who are the right creators for you can be a bit messed up. Like for instance, if you put jazz and indie rock at the same place, the recommendations are maybe not going to be very relevant. So I really recommend you to really focus on the genres that are really about what you're promoting right now and that really represent you the most. Maximum three of them, maybe one or two. But this profile is going to be the showcase of your project to um, the curators you're going to get in touch with. Then the first thing to do is obviously to start a campaign or add your track. The idea is you're gonna be able to add information about your music. That way, we're gonna be able to recommend the right people for you, the right curators for you. But you won't be forced at all to send it if you don't want to. And also, if you leave the campaign in the middle, it's gonna be saved as a draft, and you're gonna be able to get to it again and continue it. Sometimes it can take a bit of time to build the right campaign for you, and that way you can really do it in multiple times if you want to. So here, if we start, the first thing is of course to choose a track. You can put a new track, or you can also add a track that has already been sent. So of course Magon is like the account we're using for all the tests on the platform. So there are a lot of tracks, and he's also very productive. He's releasing one album per year minimum. This year he's releasing two, which is crazy. I told him, but he wants to, and he's super productive. So I don't want to block him in doing so. So here's the last track he released. What we ask is to put the release date, the track's lyrics, languages, which is super important because we're going to be able to tell you if a creator doesn't want to receive tracks in English, but only, for example, in German. That way we tell you so you don't contact them by mistake. So it's important to fill in those information. Then we ask for at least a YouTube or SoundCloud link. It can be unlisted or private, but the reason why we did that is that these are the only platforms on which the player is open, can be opened by anyone, even if you're not subscribed. While for the Spotify link, if we pop up an embed player, it will only play 30 seconds of the track, which would be a really missed opportunity for your music not to be considered entirely by the creators on the other side. Then we ask you exactly what I was telling about the goals of your campaign. You can take all of them, take none of them. You can also take one, for example, if it's a new release. You can take get visibility and media coverage. Then we ask you a question about your budget so that we can tailor the number of people we show you. But usually I don't have a specific budget in mind. That way I can see everyone who's relevant, everyone who's relevant. And then the idea is that all the creators that are shown here are going to be showcased in order based on the recommendations, based on the styles of music and information I put on my profile, my history of the tracks I've already sent. We also have usually some free opportunities that are showcased on profiles. So, for instance, we have two springboards that are taking place in France, one in La Rochelle and one around Paris, one very electronic, one very indie. And these are free opportunities. We secured a stage there, and people can apply for free. We'll listen to every track and consider some to play at those showcases. So these are also free opportunities that we can give on the platform. But for example, here you'll see that all those tracks are around indie rock, post-punk, psychedelic rock, exactly all those creators, exactly as I expected for this artist. You can really go right into it, but you can also use the filters here. So for instance, if you want to see only the ones who are really around psychedelic rock, you can take psychedelic rock. And then you can also use the filters by types. So you can use media, radios, playlists. For example, if you only want to focus on playlists, you can take her and you see that the selection is going down. If you want to also add channels, and then, for example, if I want to see those 67 one, I can go on every profile. Like for example, this one, and I can see the bio. I can see that I haven't had any interaction with them for now. So these are definitely a creator that can be interesting for a new campaign. I can also go on, let's say, like for instance, this one, because I've already sent tracks to Midsummer Madness, so I can see all my past interactions with them. So they've already accepted the track, but they haven't accepted the most recent ones. And I can see also information about their activity on the platform. So for instance, this one is a certified Spotify playlist. It means that it's a Spotify playlist that we verify that they generate actual streams that are interesting. And you can also see the activity in Groover. So this one is very selective with a 2% acceptance rate, acceptation rate, while some are really less selective. Um, if I go back, you can see that, like, for instance, if I want to proceed with one pro, actually, we really recommend you to select at least 30. And actually, the results are better and better the more curators you select, because you're going to get more opportunities and more chances for opportunities. We really saw that through like satisfaction studies, and the feedback on Groover from the artists when they've contacted at least 30 and at least 50 creators is much better than when they contacted only 5. Even though you would have paid more, like all the results you can get have much more potential impact on your project and your release, that if you contact only 5. Because if one doesn't answer, if two say it's not exactly my style of what I'm looking for, you have 2 who are interested and only one who's sharing, you're like, why did I pay 10 euros for this? While if you pay a bit more to contact to 30 or 40 people, you can get many more acceptance and opportunities. To give you an idea, the average acceptance rate, approval rate, is around 20 to 25%. And it's very varied depending on the quality of the music and the quality of the targeting. But it's very high. And so if you have a good music and you're targeting well, you can have amazing results for that and a lot of acceptance. So then if I proceed there, the next step before the end of this is the messages. So we ask for general pitch. It can be very short, but it's sent to everybody. And then you can add some personal messages to some of the creators that you want to get in touch with. And then there's a recap, and you can send the track. I'm gonna send it to them actually. So, and you can see that the campaign is sent, and then you can access to your dashboard here. We've just updated it, and it's going to have a lot more filters things. So it's a totally new design, and there will be some more operations here. But you can see all the responses you're getting for different track. So for instance, I can have all my results here for this particular track. And here I can see all the sharings that happened recently, because it was a campaign that was sent some while ago. So I can see here. So then, since it takes time for creators to share, that's normal that I see only the share then, because these are the most recent activities linked to the track. But if I go there, so you see that this track has been shared a lot. It's real good music. It's really good music. So here you can see that they did Instagram stories. Here they shared in a Spotify playlist. And here you can see also some other thing, like this was a decisions to share. So it's going to be shared, but it's not shared yet. Here it's just feedback about the track. And when you have just feedback, it's very recent, but now you can rate the feedback and tell us why it was a good or bad feedback. So for example, if I don't think it was a good feedback, I can say it. And this is used by our team to really evaluate the creators and try to monitor them a lot. So it's been very recent. So we're getting early into the data about this, but we've already identified some very cool creators we didn't know about that had like a 5-star rating all the time. And also some creators who didn't give the best quality of feedback that we kicked out. So it's really something we really care about, the quality of feedback you're going to get. I think I've said everything. It was a bit long, but it's how you can use the platform as an artist.
Yeah, I think we actually got an interesting piece of feedback from one of our users who's used Groover before.
Okay, amazing.
They said that they've used Groover, but the metadata can be a bit overwhelming with choosing the right curator. Um,
I totally agree. Yeah.
so
I agree. I know it's us who implemented it, but I definitely agree. So to tell you, we have a lot of things that we want to update on the platform. Um, we actually implemented something where they can't put more than 10 favorite jars. We could not go lower because some are really eclectic and they were feeling that they were missing opportunities. But one thing that is interesting is that if you add also reggae dancehall and you go on the profile, you probably see if they are like relevant or not. I can see how sometimes it can be confusing because someone who put dancehall would say your music is not their style. But it's also things we realize is that the appreciation of genres and music style is very subjective. For instance, if you talking about indie rock, you could argue that All J or Arcade Fire are the same as Coldplay. Coldplay started as an indie rock band with Parachutes, but you can hate Coldplay and feel it's not in your vibe, and you can love Arcade Fire and All J, which is the complicated thing here when people feel it's not their vibe. So we try to be as detailed as possible. And that's why we put like kind of the same differentiation in genres as Bandcamp, who's really good about this, which is really good about this, but it's always a work in progress and very and kind of complicated. If you want to have specific recommendations, you can definitely reach out to us on the chat on the website, the chat icon in the bottom left corner, and ask us if we can provide you with some recommendations of who to get in touch with. You can just send us a listening link and we can try to help you recommend the right ones.
that's great. And also, just back to your point about Coldplay and Arcade Fire, you could just hate all of those bands and not want to listen to their music. um,
Yeah.
um, Not that that's a
I
personal.
still have a question that's interesting. Like, did you
Well, we have,
how do you verify these curators? Yeah.
yeah. How do you verify, Dave Hansen? Hi, Dave. How do you verify that these curators, like that their playlists are legitimate? I think you and I discussed this before when we were actually talking about like, setting up this webinar. Can you walk them through that process of like how you verify that they're not bots and that it's actually, I guess, suppose a meaningful platform for them to consider?
Yeah, definitely. So the problem, as you know, is that the Spotify API is closed on that data about playlists and how many streams they generate, et cetera, which is complicated, of course, but there are tricks to be able to know that. The two main sources we use, the first one is the discovered on section on artist profiles. So I don't know if you noticed, but on desktop, if you go on your Spotify profile and you've been added to playlist, you can see a section called discovered on, and you see playlists listed there. And actually the top playlists there are the ones who generate the most streams for the music of that artist. So if you in position 1, position 2, position 3 out of 50, it means that they generate a lot of streams. You can't know exactly how many, but it generates a lot. Um, and we use that by aggregating by a platform that does that, and tool that we started to build to be able to scrap a bit this information and be able to see if when we evaluate a playlist, it is actually in the discovered on section of the artist it has had it. So this is the first way we see if they have definite impact. The second way is through the Spotify for artists of artists, because when you go on your Spotify for artists, you can see the streams, but you only have the data on the artist side, not on the creator side. So what we do is we try to ask a lot of artists for their CSV of those playlists to be able to identify if the playlists are generating streams. And we try to rerun that a lot, especially with the artists we're supporting, who have been added to a lot of Groover playlists, and we're able to see when the places definitely have impact. And that's when we decide to put the Spotify certified place badge. We also really vet all the playlists when we're not sure that a place is actually generating streams. We asking some proof from the playlister, and we also monitoring very carefully that when they add tracks, it's generating streams, which is the main way to see if it's not a botted place. And also there's a lot of ways to see when a place seems very botted. One of the things is when it's not created in a very nice editorial way, or when it's only adding very famous artists. This one we don't accept them on Groover.
That's great. We don't want bots or fake playlists.
Yeah, and sometimes one may. It happened in the past that one slipped through. When it happens, we kick them out and we give credits back to all the people who have contacted them. And it hasn't happened in really a while, which I'm kind of proud of, which means that our monitoring of playlist is really much better than before.
Well, that's great. I think the next best place to go is if you have any sort of like case studies or anything like that for to show with the folks in the audience, and just share any campaigns or anything like that.
Yeah, I can try to show you a bit from Spotify for Artists, because I think it's probably the most relevant. So if I show you the screen, if I go to, so it's the same example I put in the article because it's very, like, it's very interesting in a way. So he's getting a lot of listeners right now, much more than in the beginning. When we started, it wasn't the case. I don't know. Do you see my screen? So I can put it in English, I think. Yeah, it's much better. So this artist, when we started working with him and trying to help him get visibility on Groover and give him advice, because we do that with a few artists that we try to support to go to the next step. His music is really great, but he wasn't doing a lot of promotion. And if you look at his releases from, let's say, like since 2015, so if I go there, you'll see that this entire EP made 24,000 streams. This single did 28,000, 11,000 for My Pride, etc. And these were all like released in 2020, and there was not like a specific playlist strategy around them. And if you look at the more recent tracks, for example, this one, Neptune, it was released only 3 months ago, and it's already at the same level of streams that like even better than this single. And if we go to Neptune, you see it didn't get into any editorial playlist, but you see that there's like a consistent number of streams 3 months afterwards. And if you go there in the last 12 months, you see that there was like a peak of listening here, and it's remained quite consistent. If you look at the playlist here, you'll see a lot of those playlists are playlists that were actually when they were able to join through Groover. The Longing Dance, Cheerful Dance, French Indie, Rainy Days Indie, Gloomy Ballads as well, Acústico en Casa from Eduardo Pastore. It's really cool. Like, and it's only the last 28 days here. So if you go since 2015, it's even better. You can see Acústico en Casa, Radio Nova, which is like a list managed by Lista Fina, which who are using Groover, John Magnuson as well. And those creators all added the track to that playlist through Groover campaign. And as you can see, what happened is even if the track wasn't added to Spotify editorial playlist, even though you listen to it, it's not a track that is very, very, very place friendly. It's an indie folk track that's very atmospheric. It doesn't have a big hook, but it's a really cool track. And you'll see that what's interesting is that it started to generate some traction also on Discover Weekly and radio. And it happened a month after release. Once it had traction through the third party playlist that we had contacted with him on Groover, through Groover. And this doesn't happen for all artists to get into Discover Weekly and radio. It's only when you're starting to get a bit of traction on your track. You always get release radar, but this was how he got into that. And the next thing I wanted to show is that after that release, which is much more like strong than the most recent one he got before, we had this release of Pourquoi tu me dis je t'aime very much more recently. It's a track in French, and actually it was the first time we secured from the start Spotify editorial playlist. And it's not luck here. It's the first time in his life through a lot of albums and EPs he's securing one Spotify editorial playlist. The pitch was done on Spotify for artists only, like not direct contact with anyone. And it's probably due to the fact that we're able to push the monthly listeners to a new level. when we started with him, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking here, so he had, if I'm looking here, he had like around 20,000 monthly listeners, and now he's around 50. So we definitely on another level. Like he almost tripled his number of monthly listeners, at least double it. And you see here that for Pourquoi tu me dis je t'aime, he's still in the Spotify editorial playlist, and he got also some independent ones that bring him some engagement and that push the track into radio, into Release Radar, into some other in Discoverly. It's just starting after a month. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be pushed into more algorithmic playlists because it has a lot of impact and engagement, and it's been like in the playlist for a lot of time. It's only rising up, so it means that Spotify sees that it has some traction, organic traction. And the track all time has already done more than 50, around 55,000 streams for a track that is not commercial at all. Like it's really like, it's even very indie in a way. And he got more than 55,000 streams in a month, a bit more than a month. So yeah, it's kind of a good example of how through like a strategy of getting in touch with third-party playlists, you building up the notoriety, touching new people, but also triggering the algorithmic playlist, and also getting into the ears through your stats of the editorial playlist. It's one example among a lot, but it's one that's pretty explicit.
That's great.
Do you hear me, Corey? Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I'm here. I minimize myself on video during these because my internet is really bad. I think right now might be a good time to take some questions from. We have a few that are in the Q&A, so I can just answer those with you. So the first question is, I suppose this would probably apply to like the use case for Groover, but a user wanted to know if you could help them create an album cover. I guess, can you source creatives on Groover?
Oh yeah, not really, but if you get in touch with some mentors and if you get in touch with some record labels, some might be able to help you with that. But it's mainly for when your track is ready, when your artistic is ready, or when you have a strong demo and you want feedback on it. But it's less about the creatives around the project. It will be more the case if you get in touch with someone who can help you with that.
Great. The next question is, and also one of our users just pointed out you could use Fiverr. You could also just
Yeah, it's one of the things actually that's interesting is that at some point we were thinking about putting the possibilities of getting some opportunities like that on the platform, but it would be more paying for a service directly, while Groover is more like paying about consideration by someone. We didn't want to mix it together. At some point, it might meant to have some direct opportunities like hiring a mix engineer, or like hiring someone for your album cover, your video. Actually, there are some platforms who do that. I think like Sound Better was helping you do that. There's also like Lender is also helping you do that. Those are platforms that on which you can get in touch with people for a specific paid service like this.
That's great. And good point too. I mean, there's plenty of platforms out there right now that can help you source artwork. I just draw on napkins personally and release that as my artwork. So the next question is, can you help them publish their album worldwide? I don't quite understand what that means, but for as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Groover is not a distribution outlet.
No, no, we're not a distributor. We have a lot of partnerships with some distributors, and you can get discounts about those through our partners page. When you sign up to Groover, you will have access to a partners page down the homepage, and you can get access to that. But we don't do distribution. We more just after distribution, or more before distribution when you're not sure that the track is ready, or if you want to get in touch with partners to help you release it. But it's more about that, and we don't intend to launch like a distribution service because there are already so many. So we wouldn't be bringing a lot of value while we have so much value to bring through through improving Groover, improving the service, and trying to get into more promotion, marketing stuff. I'm trying to push my hair here since the beginning of this webinar, but it's not working. It's crazy. What can I do with that like silly piece of hair? Like it's sorry about this.
We're keeping that in the
Maybe someone
playback.
privately told me.
We're gonna keep that in the playback though, so everybody can
Sorry.
after the fact. I think one question that I had that I think a lot of folks who maybe couldn't attend live today but will watch it back, I think might have is sort of what, going back to the actual profile for an artist on Groover, and what that looks like. Do you have any tips, like maybe a few quick tips for like what you see for artist profiles and sort of what information? I'm trying to think about this. I've just had coffee. My hair is doing great things either.
Yeah, your hair is
Like,
amazing.
like what can we suggest to them to
Yeah,
sort of
understand.
help
Yeah.
promote and get it more engaged? Because that's what curators are going to be looking at on Groover when they submit a track for consideration, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm suggesting is first, it can be silly, but it's fill in your profile, like fill out your profile with a picture and with your social media links. Because if a curator likes your track and they want to dig who you are, one of their first reflex is going to be to click on your Spotify link or click on your Instagram link, and those are going to be very much put forward to the creators when you get in touch with them. The other thing is the bio. It's cool to have a short bio explaining who you are, and also a cool picture. Like a cool picture is like it shows like the kind of project you're into. You can also add a country, and you can add several countries if you're like located or binational, or if you're located in several countries. This is much it for profile, but what I want to get back to is about the pitch. The pitch is super important. You need to definitely need to write a pitch, otherwise the creators don't exactly know what you're looking for, especially if you're gonna get in touch with record labels and partners who want to know what you're expecting, what you add in your project. Don't hesitate to write a pitch, write them a personal message if you have time. No need to write a personal message to everybody, but at least the global pitch explaining a bit the same way when you're pitching a track on Spotify for artists. The main idea is what is your track? How can you be impactful on that? What are your influences, and what is the context in which you're releasing that track? The pitch is super important, in my opinion, and it's the feedback I got a lot from creators who are telling me sometimes they receive music, I don't know what they're looking for, and it can be a motive for them to reject it.
Yeah, like don't be lazy. If you're going to spend the money to try to get a curator, make sure that you're filling it out properly.
And I have an article about how to write a perfect pitch that I put in the conversation. And here are advice that can help you write this pitch.
That's great. Yeah, and we'll include that. We're actually doing a series with Groover this week and next week. We have 4 excellent articles. The first of which will be posted right after this to answer your email, Dorian. And we will be, you'll be able to sort of learn a lot more about the platform and also just overall press tips, because they were really kind with and gracious with offering tips on how you can get more press. We do have another question, it looks like.
Yeah, I see. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me pose it for the audience. I work a lot on Submit Hub, pitching our label artists. How would you say your platform compares with that platform, especially concerning playlisting?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. So the way it works on Groover, the business model, the way you get in touch with creators is very much similar to how it works on Summit Hub, but there are some big differences in the logic and also a lot of other stuff. The first thing, as you saw, is that we work a lot on the user experience, so it's mainly focused on artists. Like we built this platform for artists, while Summit Hub was built more for curators first. So it shows at every step, because we try to maximize your experience first, and creators are more a means to an end on that like in that way. One of the big things is the curators and professionals that are on Groover are mostly totally different from the ones on Summit Hub. Some who were on Summit Hub also signed up to Groover, but we never reach out to them ourselves. We always try to bring some real music industry players, real music blogs in the specific areas we were working on, because this is the other thing is that we were focusing locally on a country by country strategy. So we have big pockets of creators in specific markets where Summit Hub doesn't. For instance, France, our home market, we have more than 300 creators there. Summit Hub must have around 30 to 40. The same thing for Brazil, which is we have more than I think it's close to 300 now. Same for Italy. Same, and we're working a lot on expanding in the US and especially around New York, the UK, and we also have a lot of very interesting communities of curators in the Middle East, in Mexico, and around in all the Latin American countries. And we use our amazing network of ambassadors who work for us in sourcing the right curators in a totally independent way. So that way you won't find the same contacts on Google than you find on Summit Hub. So you can definitely be using both different targets. And for playlisting, the difference will be we have fewer features than Summit Hub, to be honest, but the results seem to be better right now because it's less saturated, and we work a lot on avoiding that saturation, especially by having 7 days for you to get answers, by optimizing the experience on both sides, trying to help you target the right ones. It's less like a factory of feedback that you are going to get in 48 hours like you can get in Summit Hub. No like a harm intended or like bad mouth on this, but I know that sometimes it can be frustrating because you're receiving a lot of feedback in 48 hours and it's ended and you're like, wow, what happened? Like you did it's a lot. While on Groover, people take a bit more time to answer you and you tend to get better quality feedback and also more opportunities. I think our like acceptance rate around 25 to 30% is really high. If you have really good music, it's gonna stand out more on Groover and you're gonna get more interesting results. So it's often that we see that for a campaign for an artist who signed on record label and has like a real good quality music, we can see 80% acceptance rates and them building a whole press folder with like a few dozens euros invested. So yeah.
That's great. And we have one more question. Have any certified platinum hip hop acts reached that success by way of using Groover?
Certified platinum hip hop, certified platinum, I actually don't know because we don't have that information about the users on the platform. But we've had some very interesting artists who have used Groover. We have, especially in France, like very famous artists there, but also Chami, who's a famous DJ. We had campaign sent by, if I'm gonna find some examples, I need to find some. I actually can do that because. Look at that. Okay, I'm not gonna find it. Sorry, but I will. I'm gonna be able to give you some examples about some very famous record labels using it. We had the Wombats using it through their record label. A lot more interesting partners are using the platform to partners and labels are using the platform to try to get more playlists and try to get more international visibility. This is one thing is if you already kind of famous, kind of established on your market, Groover is really useful if you want to expand and try some other markets out. Like if you in the US you want to try out France, the French market, or Brazil or Italy, and at the same time you can also focus especially on the independent playlist because not a lot of platforms do that. The right like the real Spotify independent playlisters. So that's how you can get value when you're already an established artist.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you for doing this with us today.
I have a discount code. Like, do you want me to share it out or yeah?
Yes, I was going to mention that. So if anybody has any questions for Dorian, Dorian, would you feel comfortable if you shared your email address just for this chat group of folks?
Of course.
We also have a coupon code for everybody if you want to try it out for the folks that stayed, you get first access. And you guys can try it out at a discount. But yeah, this is really interesting. I really like
I'm writing it in the chat.
Go ahead. But yeah, I think it's been really interesting. It covers a lot of areas that I think you know, on the promotion side of things for people that, you know, may not be able to access a publicist or have that type of budget.
Definitely. I think it's a tool that's now becoming a no-brainer when you're trying to get in touch with people and curators and place curators radios because it's not a lot of money. You can try it out, see if it works for you, and then decide if you want to spend more money on it. But there's not a lot of risk taken compared to if you're not sure about it, hiring a PR agent when your project is not that developed. Hiring a PR agent and PR officer is really impactful when your project is already kind of working and kind of emerging and you want to really give a big boost and acceleration thing. But Groover is really cool when you're starting out, when you're emerging, and also when you're bigger and you want to target things that your PR agent is not targeting. I'm just sending the message here. Actually, the best way to get in touch with me is definitely to use me and the rest of the team, because we have 30 people now, so you're gonna get in touch with amazing people in the team. Is also the chat feature at the bottom left corner of the website. You can ask any questions you have there about the platform, and we'll help you. We'll help you out using it. We try to be very reactive on the support, so we're always available. That's it. And I just posted the discount code, which is a 15% one. We never do that. Usually it's always 10% because with 15%, we since there are also some other discounts through the packs, we kind of losing money with that. But it makes sense because we really want you guys and the Feature FM community to join Groover.
Yeah, well, that's why we're all here. And like I said, we're going to be doing a series of posts over the rest of this week and next week with Groover. So watch out there for that. And we'll also send a recap of this webinar with the articles that have already been posted later this week. So yeah, everything should be available. And Dorian, we're also going to have you in our community as well. I'll invite you. So if anybody has any questions on Circle or artist community, you can answer them there too.
Yeah, with pleasure. And also, I think you already know that, but it makes so much sense to do this kind of collaboration with Feature FM. I've been a big user of Feature FM for quite some time. We like, I don't know, this is the platform to do the best smart links and the best analytics around this. And we couldn't do things without it, and we'd lose so much time doing it another way. So just wanted to give like a thumbs up to the amazing work you're doing at Feature FM.